Hello, Jim Dramatic here. Welcome to a brand new episode of Robot Wars episode reviews. We're on Series 6 Heat B. I know I'm actually back again, finally. You know, I'm doing stuff because there's nothing else to do outside and it's raining at the moment, so there's even less to do outside at the moment. So, and we're here to talk about Heat B, which of course is the one where literally only 2 robots can make the Heat final and that is it. If we look at everything else that's in the Heat. But joining me today is Mark, aka Free Fox.
Good evening.
It's been a while since you've been on this show, so it's nice to be back again.
Yes, it is. It's always nice to take part in these fun little podcasts here and there, for sure.
Oh, definitely. And also joining us for the first time on my podcast is, of course, David Harrison.
Hello.
A.k.a. Dave Smeg on my...
Yep.
I like the name's good.
Is one of you outside?
No comment.
Honestly, I mean, I could imagine some of your Lego bots doing well in this Heat compared to, Colossus existing. But
it's more imaginative than that, for sure.
Yeah. Now, one thing I wanted to mention before we actually talk about the robots themselves, this was something I didn't actually bring up in my Heat A review, which I don't know why I didn't bring this up, because they started doing this in Series 6 and it was aggravating to me, is showing spoilers at the beginning of the episode.
I hated that so much. I would always look away from the screen.
How did I not mention this? Me or Wayne or Mike not mention this at any point? Because then, like, Mike on his live reviews did like kind of loads of jokes throughout the beginning of the episode, just to have him not watching the screen.
Yes, they got more elaborate as time went by. That was good. But the people at BBC or Mentor, what the devil were they thinking?
I don't know, because like one of the most egregious parts of it was actually in this Heat, where like you see Exterminator going against Megahertz 2, but then when you watch the first fight, Megahertz 2 isn't in the same fight as Exterminator, so you go, well, shit, I know who's getting past the first round now.
Yeah, and sometimes you know how it's going to happen, because they show like 2 minutes worth of the whole thing. You might have sort of seen the whole episode. Yeah,
and then you see like Firestorm flipping over Megahertz, and you see Firestorm flipping over Colossus. Like, unless Firestorm just suddenly breaks down out of nowhere, which they don't do.
I mean, in Series 2, at the start of Series 2, they had a little bit where they showed wee clips from the series, but it didn't really give away a huge amount of things and stuff.
Not really. I mean, aside from
you saw who got to the Heat semi-finals in a couple of heats, but nothing really beyond that.
Yeah, and you see spoilers like, oh no, Mortis did well. Like, what a surprise! Mortis is one of the good robots in Series 2.
And Panic Attack made the battles and stuff. But it never gives away anything else really. It keeps it relatively.
I'm surprised it's just
worse later on in the series. Like there was, I think, Thermidor ends up driving in the pit multiple times in the preview for that Heat. So that's definitely the worst one.
Series 7 I think Series 7 overall was worse than Series 6 though. You get to the point where they might as well just show the Heat final and go, oh, who's gonna win this? I wonder.
Series 7 was a bunch of bullshit though, because it was like it was a cash prize at the end. You could tell it was producer meddling to just see who could go through rather than robots getting through on merit. That's what it was, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's
and of course, not least the grand final, but that's for another day.
That is for a lot of days. We'll definitely get to that one. But I'm also slightly streamlining this process. Basically, where what we're going to do more likely is to talk about the robots and any major things that happened in their battles or battle, depending on which robot it is, and talk about things that happened to them, the robot itself. If it like in case of some other robots, we have more to say than others probably. But we'll start off with the Heat winner, which honestly could have been either one or 2 robots, but it was more likely to be this robot, which ends up being, of course, it is FIRESTORM 4. The 4th time I've had to talk about this robot. But I don't mind, because it's my favourite robot of all time, so I can't really complain. Honestly.
I love Firestorm. I've grown to love Firestorm more over time, because it's like, at this point, it's the gold standard of front-inch flipper robots. It's fast, it's agile, it's reliable, it's durable, and it's really, really capable. So, yeah. We expect good things from this robot. They have not really done a great deal with it. It looks the same, but apparently it's been rebuilt over 4 weeks and uses a new body shell, and the flipper's also a wee bit more powerful.
Oh, definitely. They showed it off in their opening battle anyway. I mean,
it bullied everything.
Yeah. Now, I want to say something, right? I feel attacked. Coming from someone who's from Lancashire, right? And 2 of these robots are 20 miles away from me. I I feel very attacked right now because Firestorm didn't give any of my Lancashire boys a chance, and it was sad because Cedric Slimer got stuck, Colossus got stuck, and Megahertz got his entire PC ripped apart. Yeah, I love Firestorm, but I feel very, very saddened right now at Lancashire's lack of attempt at any robots. And it's saddening to me, and I don't like it. I don't like you, Firestorm, anymore. I'm joking, but I call that particular fight the Lancashire Massacre for a reason, where none of the Lancashire robots has a chance against Firestorm.
To be fair, Firestorm has a lot more battle experience as well, and Graham Bone has refined his driving skills considerably over the years.
That is true. I mean, two of the robots couldn't actually self-right. I mean, Colossus has a flipper and still couldn't self-right. And
he parked Colossus on the wall where it couldn't really get back up anyway.
No, but there was a bit later on where it was in the middle of the arena, and it still couldn't self-right because it's got a weird, awkward disc on the back of it, which meant
it's got the classic series saw on the back, just because we needed another weapon.
Like a piece of metal equals a saw, apparently.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to bring up as well is that conspicuous in his absence is Alex Mordew. This was the first series where he was not on the Firestorm team. It was just Graham Bone and Hazel Heslop at this point.
That is true, actually. Yeah, I'm not sure why maybe he just couldn't make it this series. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I asked him when it was either at Bugglebot Series 1 or at Battle in the Borough, and I completely forgot what his answer was.
Oh, that's a shame. But yeah, it's Firestorm definitely on his robots. I can't. Well, unless anyone has anything to add about Firestorm, it's just a well-driven front hinge flipper robot.
If it isn't broken, why fix it?
It's nice to see it clean again. After how trash the paint scheme was at the end of Series 5, it's nice to see it clean yellow and red.
Also,
nice and shiny.
It also completely avoided Matilda's disc of the series.
It didn't go near it.
They did eventually add a steel blade to the front, but that didn't come until Extreme 2.
No, I mean, I kind of like it without. I see why they brought the blade in, but I like it just because more the aesthetic without the kind of blade on the front of it.
It does, yeah.
But honestly, they didn't really have any issues in this entire heat, like at all. Like nothing. Like I mean, Exterminator got a few pushes on them, but that's kind of it. And they got like almost got a axe blow from Shunt, but that's basically all that happened to them.
Firestorm never really seemed to be in any real danger at any point in this heat.
No, it didn't really have any. I mean, Exterminator was its best opponent, and Exterminator's not. Well, really, Exterminator was kind of flagging by Series 6, honestly, and with its design as it was. They're just waiting for the disc to come in Series 7 and wreck shit. Although Firestorm is also a very naughty robot because they flipped over RevPot for no reason in their fight against Barbaric Response. Sorry.
Well, he flipped over RevPot just because he got in his way. That's pretty much it.
As a result, RevPot couldn't count out Barbaric Response. They just ended the fight.
Yep.
Like I mean, RevPot. It was in the last heat. He's doing really crap, and in this heat, he's getting beaten up.
He's helped himself to Shunt supply. That's what's happened.
All right.
I think so. I mean, RevBot's only got two. Like his only job really now is just to, either separate robots or just count them out.
Or to try and put out the fire, but that's it really.
Yeah, but he's bad at that last job. He doesn't even put out the fire. He just like in the one with Ruff Dugan the last hit. He just sort of just moves.
It's just kind of gimmicky.
He goes near the robot, kind of just and attempts at putting it out, and if he doesn't put it out, he just kind of goes, leave it alone, it'll be fine. It'll go out eventually. Stop, drop, and roll. And even then, sometimes the case one time he's come up, which I can't remember if it was in Series 5 or not, but his countdown time went to 90 something. It's going 90, 91. I'm like, shit. Well, this is not good. They've got plenty of time.
In the next series, that one.
Oh, I can't.
I think that's also a Firestorm Heat as well.
Oh, really? Wow.
Because that's when they're counting out Ripper.
That was it.
JP makes the comment, it's gone European.
It's funny actually, they beat Ripper and Barbaric Response in pretty much the same way. Got them stuck on the same wall. In the same angle almost. Yep. And Barbaric Response was left kind of twitching. Unable to really do anything. But yeah, that's just Firestorm really. A really reliable robot, and honestly, yeah, I think, did you say it, Mark? What if it's not broken, don't fix it?
Yeah.
That's all you need to do with Fire. Firestorm's probably the biggest definition of that, because it never really changed, and never at any point did it feel like it was lacking.
If you were to bring Firestorm into the robot fighting scene today, into the heavyweight tournaments, I think it would still hold up pretty well.
Just replace its armor with Hardox, really. And
You could easily do that, and well, of course, some of these competitions don't even allow spinners, like the main heavyweight championship, for example. So,
Plus, we need more front hinge flippers on. So I'm kind of bored of the wedge rear hinge flipper craze that Britain has.
This is why I build front hinge flippers, but I'm only building beetle weight at the moment, so it's a bit of a way to go yet.
I like you keeping the tradition alive, at least. Yep. I mean, aside from Cassius, Firestorm is the only other successful front hinge flipper in the series. I mean, Mute got one semi-final, but Mute was kind of lucky in some regards. I don't know.
It was, yeah.
Plus, Mute.
I'm trying to think what else there was.
Plus, Mute couldn't even. Oh, there was Gravedigger, but Gravedigger was only one series as well. But it was actually successful in any way. I mean, yeah, Mute's biggest problem, it couldn't even self-right properly, because it would end up flipping itself out the arena or flipping itself all over the place. Like, you know, it was nothing. It was not reliable in any way.
There was UFO, which was a bit slow and clunky, and I believe Shane Lale owns that robot now.
Oh, really? I don't know.
He does, yeah.
I forgot about Series 7 UFO, yeah. The one that got stuck on its side somehow.
Yeah.
I guess we'll move on to the runner-up of this heat. Of course, it's Exterminator. Rocking the trying to do better than Series 5 look, but still kind of being Exterminator.
Honestly, I don't think the Series 6 version's paint scheme looks as good as the Series 5 one. It looks a bit more like it was done in a hurry.
Well, my only problem with Exterminator mainly is that it kind of peaked in Series 3 up until before Series 7. Like, it was really fast in Series 3. It was able to, like, you know, have a good fight against Panic Attack, but like by Series 4 I had the axe that did nothing.
It was a better looking robot in Series 4, but the axe was really crap. That's why they just went with the lifter after that. And then Series 5 looked brilliant, but had some issues with the reliability.
I mean, they were struggling against Immortalis at one point. That's not a good sign.
Yeah, they definitely didn't look like they were struggling in this heat so much. I think they looked a lot more capable, and they dominated their first round battle very well. They were the only robots still going at the end of that one, I think. Yeah. And in the second round, they were similarly quite dominant, although they didn't quite finish Megahertz off. And in the heat final, they weren't completely curb stomped by Firestorm. They actually managed to put up quite a good fight for a while, I think.
Oh no, they definitely had a fight. I think my only problem with Exterminator, just for me personally, is that it's one of those like classic semi. You know, it's only, I mean, its entire time it's been around so often. Like it's been there from Series 3 to Series 7, but it's never really kind of like wowed me. Like in the times between the two times it got to, between Series 3 and Series 7, like its best versions, and everything in between's just sort of existed, even if no matter how well it did.
It's just there in a way.
It's part of the scenery.
Yeah, Series 7's version. I mean, that was such a complete shock and everything, but in a very good way. And it's that'll be for another time, of course. But this was like their last hurrah with their classic sort of axe wedge combination, and they kind of went out with more of a whimper than a bang, definitely.
This is definitely their best axe they ever had, though, because they actually managed to rip open. Because there's one point where you actually get stuck inside Barbaric Response. If you like slightly off camera, you can see it just pinning it in the middle, and then ripping off Megahertz's monitor face. Yeah.
This was a lot better than the Exterminators act from Series 5 and Series 4. They definitely made a much better go of it, and they were able to show off the power of their weapon a bit more. That was definitely one of the things that had improved at that point.
Especially the Series 4 axe. I mean, even the team admit that's why they switched to the flipper from the Heat Final onwards. Yeah. They just didn't. The axe was doing nothing.
Yeah.
So it was basically just tinfoil axe at that point.
Makes you wonder if he even tested the darn thing.
Probably not. I mean, it seems again. I don't know what happened to its self-writers either, because they just seem to just not work in the Heat Final.
No, the scoop worked. The scoop lifts up and down as well, just a wee bit of a lift on the front of it. That worked, but the self-writers for some reason didn't fire, and we don't know why exactly. I guess. I mean, I'm looking up on the wiki now just to check and see myself if it mentions anything about it.
Yeah. I don't know. Exterminator was it was probably the only other robot that was probably going to make Heat Final unless something really bad happened, like in Series 5. But I don't know. Like, it's just okay. Exterminator series. It's probably the best version of the Exterminator robots in between its its debut and its finale. Because at least it actually wasn't it actually consistently worked through the heat, and also it just got beaten by a better robot. If it was in another heat, it might have been the semi-finalist. Like, if it was in Spawn Against Heat or something. Well,
Firestorm actually... Firestorm flipped over Exterminator, but it also had to go at Shunt as well, which was quite funny, I think.
Yeah, that was true. Also, they were technically the ones that KO'd Robo Chicken as well.
Oh yes, of course, because Robo Chicken gave it a good go as well in the opening battle too, didn't they? Better flipper on it before. But we'll get to that one a wee while, won't we?
I kind of like the way they used their axe as a front hinge flipper in a way, because that's how they flipped over Robo Chicken in the first place.
That's right. That's what they did. Because they were able to wedge in underneath, and well, impromptu front hinge flipper did the business, and well, yeah. That was something I'd forgotten about after I'd seen the episode again. I'm surprised, because I'm a sucker for front hinge flippers.
So I guess we have 2 front hinge flippers in this heat?
Pretty much.
Are we going to now count every axe that's strong enough to flip over another robot as a front hinge flipper now, in that sense?
I mean, we haven't got that many at the moment. We've got way more rear hinge flippers, so we might as well take what we can get, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of similar to how your robots kind of got the front hinge flipper. It's got like kind of the flipper like on the kind of the flat part of the top of the robot, and it comes up.
Yeah, well, it's a dual lifting mechanism, like, so it's set on the. It's basically 2 lifters on the same motor. So you've got a rear hinge lifting wedge on the front, and then when the wedge itself goes forward and under the robot, then the flipper on the top goes and springs forward, and that's how it self-rights and stuff. So it's, if that makes any sense.
No, that makes sense. So what you're saying is you ripped off Exterminator. How could you?
I ripped off Vanquish actually and Sandstorm, and Jack Tweedy basically gave me a piece of his mind in a whiteboard at XXS by splitting Sprocket Raccoon into 2 pieces.
That's one way to get your anger out, I suppose.
That was all right. It was all in good nature, and well, Sprocket's weapon had already been weakened in the opening battle anyway. So I'm going to use much stronger mounting next time, though. So that will never happen again. Touch points.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Is there anything else to add about Exterminator, or can we move on to, I guess, another robot that existed in this heat? I suppose.
I think we can move on to the next robot. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, this robot, honestly, it's a robot that's been in 2 series, and it has pretty much literally done nothing the entire time it existed in the series. That is Barbaric Response.
It's a solid-looking robot, quite compact. Looks like it can take a few hits. David, what do you think?
Apparently, it's got exposed wheels, according to the title card.
Which is a load of bull because it doesn't.
No, they're actually one of the more protected wheels I've seen on a robot that's not got full armor over them. That's pretty well done, I'd say.
Yeah.
Although, yeah, its design is nice. I think my only problem with Barbaric Response, kind of, is just the fact I don't get much personality out of it. Like, it's just sheet metal.
It's very BattleBots.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's very BattleBots. Like, well, I'd say more specifically classic BattleBots rather than model BattleBots. Yeah. Like,
the robot is not as exciting as the name suggests.
Yeah, it's got a very British way of, which I thought had died out around Series 3, of having robots that's bland or mediocre robots with like really impressive names like Vector of Armageddon, Angel of Death. I don't know.
Cataclysmic Variabot.
Oh god, that's probably the biggest. That is just a box. You know, at least robots. I mean, at least robots like Two-Headed Death Flamingo look kind of cool and have a cool name to back up. You know, it'd be like if they Two-Headed Death Flamingo and it was just a box with a flamingo head on it, and that's all it was. But like Barbaric Response, like its entire time it has existed, I don't think it has done anything at all. Like, it got beaten up by Exterminator, it got beaten up by Scorpion at one point, it got pinned by Can Opener and got flipped over by Firestorm. It kind
Can
of
Opener.
Can Opener in the in Series 7 just grabbed hold of it and then just never let go because they couldn't let go.
They were stuck for like the entire fight.
Which is why
they had no rule in those days to let go anyway, did they?
Well, I think it's faithful they couldn't. In fact, they couldn't let go as opposed to
stuck, basically.
Yeah, it's kind of why I wish we had that BattleBots rule of if they're stuck, we can stop the fight, open them off, get them off each other, then carry on again. Because they got kind of robbed in that fight.
RefBot already, isn't it? But then RefBot doesn't always fulfill his job.
I mean, RefBot couldn't really do anything in that case because he just kind of tapped him and kind of went, well, they're stuck. Whatever.
Barbaric Response did go on to have some success after the UK series, though, because according to the wiki, it did pretty well in winning Robot Live events in 2008 and 2009, and it also came third in the 2009 Heavyweight Championship.
They were also in the tag team as well, in Extreme 2.
Right.
where they were paired up with Hydra.
Yeah.
Which, you know, they did stuff there, I guess.
Didn't they?
Yeah, they got a lot further there, yeah. And they also got a little pecking from Robo Chicken in that series, a bit of revenge, I guess, for getting past this round.
We've actually got a featherweight version of the robot called Barbaric Bruce, which is basically exactly the same but much smaller.
I'm always a sucker for teams that make little mini versions of the robots, like Anti-B and like 259 and stuff like that.
Mini Moth, that's a featherweight behemoth, isn't it?
Yeah. The only exception being Typhoon, because there was too fucking many of them.
Far too many. I know there was different. I know they had different people on the team, but it was the same thing and different weight classes. They had 2 lightweight ones, for God's sake.
Yeah, like covered in paper, and I was apparently classed as together. It's like,
and well, Typhoon Thunder winning the lightweight championship, the last ever lightweight championship, I should add, by default, pretty much, because his little Pinkbot was completely useless.
Pretty much. I mean, in their opening battle, Barbaric Response did basically almost die. If Scorpion hadn't died first, they would have been out, because they were just twitching at the end of the fight.
This is why in group battles the robots are said to have qualified rather than won, because some robots qualify by doing practically nothing.
Well, I don't even like using the word qualify. I like using the word survive.
Survived, yeah.
Particularly in FIRESTORM's match, none of those robots qualified. They survived. You know.
I suppose not even FIRESTORM. They ended up in the pit.
No one survived. Cedric Slammer survived, and they went out. So you know, but again, I have no real hatred for Barbaric Response. It's definitely one of those robots. Like, if I had to make a top 10 of robots that existed, that aren't bad robots, but they're not they're up there with I don't know the robot with that kind of thing. Actually, probably honestly, Dan Tomkia a little bit for me. Like, as successful as it was, I always kind of have to remind myself it exists for some reason.
Function over form, pretty much.
Kind of, yeah. I'm a little bit of Eruption, and I do like Eruption. I do actually like Eruption, but to the extent of they function, but then what else do they do?
Eruption became a bit less bland over the years, though. It became a bit more interesting to look at when they started adding extra attachments to it. But
yeah, that's true.
But then, of course, a lot of the robots that have won the FRA Heavyweight Championships have been quite, the rear hinge flipper and everything. They're all more or less the same, but with slightly different shapes and different paint schemes.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I think Barbaric Response, again, it's not a bad robot. Again, I can't say I hate it. I definitely can't say I'm not that mean about it. Yeah,
it's okay.
It's okay. That's probably the best way to describe Barbaric Response. And again, it's fine. It's a
sort of robot that looks like it could get past the first round, but not win the heat, I don't think.
Yeah, it's kind of like a slightly lower tier Raging Nightmare. Where that was a robot that kind of got very lucky to even get past its heat, because it was against Spawn again, who exploded. But yeah, that was one heat where that was the only series where Spawn again works consistently and they ended up exploding. Yeah. So what are you gonna do? But oh god, we'll get to that heat soon. Bloody hell.
Oh dear.
But yeah, Barbaric Response exists. It's fine. It got unceremoniously stuck on the wall. I'm not sure how it couldn't self-right from them. It just lost CO2, or it just couldn't self-right because of that angle. Not entirely sure what happened there. But yeah, it ends up, like I said before, it ends up like Ripper in exactly the same position on exactly the same wall, which is really weird. They do it 2 series in a row, but whatever. And then of course there's the other robot that who survived barely, i.e. was the last robot to get immobilized. Was Megahertz 2. This was quite a wild card one, really, because Megahertz 2 was the successor to Megahertz 1 from Robot Wars Series 2, and in between that time, the team entered the unimpressive Tut's Revenge into Series 3. Yeah, it's very easy to forget Tut's Revenge. It's just a pyramid. It is so easy to forget, because isn't it? I mean, it didn't even do much in that the heat it was in. And Megahertz itself, the original Megahertz, only got as far as the trials in Series 2. It didn't really do much else, although the novelty where the robot was shaped like a computer was pretty neat with the keyboard lifter on the front there. This one goes a bit further. It's a bit wider and blockier than the previous one. They've got these flaps on the sides. They've got pickaxes on either side, which apparently will fire automatically when they sense another robot is quite close to them.
And of course, the lifter at the front still lifts up and everything. And they've now got a much angrier pair of eyes on the computer monitor than they did in Series 2 as well.
Yeah, I mean, Megahertz 2, I don't know why. I just kind of prefer the original one. For one very weird reason, just for me personally, it's kind of my taste in robots. I like robots with a lot of personality. That's just kind of my thing. And I'm not saying this robot doesn't have personality. I mean, it does. I mean, the Series 6 version has a lot of personality as well, and the Series 7 with the laptop version.
Right.
But I just kind of like the Series 2 version for how much unnecessary shit they put on it for no reason.
Like the CD coming out and everything.
Yeah,
CD.
it's a CD. There's an actual keyboard on there, and it's got the little mouse mascot and which
I noticed that the mouse is not there now for Megahertz 2. That's a shame.
I mean, they made the mouse joke in Series 2. I think they could have brought it back, but
yeah.
But I don't know.
He was reincarnated as Tutankhamun, you see, for Tut's Revenge.
Oh God, yeah.
He's been buried now.
Oh.
Buried.
Well, mice tend to only live for a couple of years anyway, but then the Mighty Mouse robots have lived a long time, so...
Yeah, I mean, I'll admit though, their flipper at least got under Exterminator a few times, which I'm quite surprised about, given how low Exterminator's front is.
And it could lift, it could do the business.
Yeah, although the real thing I feel sorry for in Megahertz is that monitor. Like, they went through 2 monitors in this series.
Yeah, Exterminator just stuck its axe straight through it, and then at one point, Exterminator managed to... its axe head actually broke off inside Megahertz.
And then Mr. Psycho comes in and just beats the shit out of it again.
And the damn thing still keeps going.
Yeah, Exterminator... Megahertz was a trooper. In Series 7, it was way less reliable. It kind of broke down quite easily. But in Series 6, this thing kept to a judge's decision against Exterminator, which is... at least impressive for a robot that's not fully built for being a majorly competitive robot.
Well, the guy who built it himself said that he wasn't expecting to do as well as it did. So, yeah.
And what do you think of Megahertz, Darren? Sorry.
I quite enjoy Megahertz. Like it's sort of that more forgotten joke robot, isn't it? And even with its facelift and just getting completely twatted by the house robots, it's just lovable to see it there.
I mean, this is the kind of robot I would make, honestly. And also, fun fact, this robot and another robot in their fight we'll talk about later, Colossus, are both the closest Robot Wars robots to me. Because there's no robots that have actually come from my city, Lancaster.
Yeah, they're both from Preston.
Yeah, and they're only about 20 odd miles from me. Cause not much came out of Lancashire, so I'll give it that. I have to take what I can. Technically, I'm kind of iffy. I'm not sure about Big Nipper because they say Leeds, but they're also from classed as Lancashire in some of the sources, so I don't know where they're supposed to be from. But if they're from Lancashire, I'll take it. That's the best robots. Although if it isn't, the best robots come from Lancashire probably is Megahertz actually. Weirdly enough to think. At least it's won a fight in a way. Survived a fight, I should say.
Yeah, it was there.
It existed. Again, like I said, it was the last robot to get knocked out. Which again is not really an achievement when you're against Firestorm and you have 3 robots that can't self-right properly. So there's
Can't
that.
self-right at all.
Yeah, this is the only robot that had no way of self-righting in any way because the axes weren't going to do anything.
No,
and that keyboard wasn't going to self-right them. So, but
and it's the one that got through.
Yeah, because they were the one that didn't go near Firestorm.
It was the one that was the last one to get flipped over by Firestorm, so yeah, that's just how it happened to go.
Although I may say, actually, when I always think of highlights of this heat, one of the first highlight that always comes to mind is when Megahertz gets flipped over by Firestorm, and the whole monitor just crumples in on itself.
Oh god, yeah.
It shatters. It really shatters.
I mean, Firestorm does get some really good, its two most aggressive flips, some of its most aggressive flips in this are both in this heat. It's that one, and it's one against Exterminator as well. Where it just barrels over and lands next to the wall. The only one I can think of is Morg in Series 4, where it just rolls over the place. But
passive self-righting mechanism, that's what it is.
Yeah. I mean, the axes sort of worked on Megahertz. They would sometimes fire, and then sometimes they would just get stuck open. Unable to actually do anything. So I don't know if it was... So I guess they were semi-successful, in a way. Having automated weapons of the robot in Series 6 is quite ambitious.
It did work. It just maybe not work as well as we would hope they would work. But well, This is the thing. You see, they were automated. I don't think they could have controlled them manually if they even wanted to.
I mean, the only other like automated weapons I think of in Robot was 101 Spike in Series 3. Had the automation on it. I mean, I applaud them for the ambition at least. You know, it's better than just having random axes you can just control. I mean, it's to me it still doesn't beat Crustacean's claws as ambitions in Robot Wars, but. I don't know, I still like Megahertz. Again, I do slightly prefer the Series 2 version, and I don't know why, just because of all that, again, unnecessary stuff on it, but the Series 7 is good.
I think the Series 2 version is cuter.
Well, it does have the angry eyes on it, for a start.
This is like the evolved
it's got
form,
the mouse.
isn't it? That's why it's got the angrier eyes.
Yeah, it's that rule of, that Jericho rule of making Pokemon. You have a Pokemon, they have a cute form, regular form, and then regular form with angry eyes. And you have the Poliwag line. That's basically how you do it. That's how you do things. Excluding Politoed, of course, show my Pokemon knowledge there. But, yeah,
It's
also...
been a while since I played it.
Also, fun fact about Megahertz, I only discovered when I was on the wiki before, is that apparently one of the team members from A-Kill in Series 6 called Terahertz Megahertz, he thought, in the interview after the match. Actually, in fairness, if you saw the names together, you actually could mistake it for being the same team. Because, you know, potentially. Like, I know Megahertz has a Z, doesn't have a Z on it, whilst Terahertz does. But... like, they are very similar names. So I can see why they would get confused there, but you just fought them, so at least you remember their name. But, anyway, I guess we'll move on to the 4 losers. Who do we start with? Let's start with the best one. Let's start with Robo Chicken. We have to talk about Robo Chicken.
Good choice.
The most... I swear, Robo Chicken, Series 5 to 7, like, Series 4, they came in a joke robot, and it got as far as it probably... well, further than it probably deserved, honestly, for being... a joke robot. It was sturdy. It was able to survive Razor and Pussycat before barely dying afterwards. But Series 5 and onwards, they actually created, like, went, no, you know what, we're going to make a proper robot. We're actually going to make a robot that can fight. And
it got shredded by Pussycat in Series 5, but it looks so much more solid in Series 6, I'll say that.
now, that was in Series 4, wasn't it?
No, they met... did not meet Pussycat again?
No, they met Pussycat in Series 4. In Series 5, they went against Crustacean.
Yeah.
And they lost to judges there.
So I'm looking at the wiki and everything. I'm getting myself confused. Apologies.
Although their biggest achievement was in Series 7, where they had a really close grand heat final against Tough as Nails. That was their, like, it's up there with the Grim Reaper and Big Nipper as semi heat finals of that series. But
the Series 5 version's barrel-shaped, I've noticed, just looking at the wiki here. Well, I completely forgotten about that. And what they've now gone and done is they've basically gone and sort of kept it barrel-shaped, but now they've made the wedge at the front a bit bigger. So
they had a weird, like, theme, because, like, in Series 4 it was just a chicken with a, flipper on it. And then, like, in Series 5 and 6 they started making this weird kind of, like, they have, like, a rocket on the Series 6 version, and, like, a turbines on the Series 5 version. Like, try to make some kind of engine, but in Series 7 they just go back to just flipper.
They gave up on trying
flipper's
to
what
make it
works
fly.
best.
They never got rid of their face, though. I'm glad they kept the face on every version.
The poultry-powered pecker, they called it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that face is forever terrifying. It's just...
It looks like it's in pain all of the time.
Just like every robot that been made by Team Death, honestly. Or Scorpion from Series 4.
And of course, one of Robo Chicken's big bulbous eyes gets blown off as well.
Although in Series 4, one of them got ripped off by the saw. Which was quite
Shit, yeah.
painful. But yeah, this version of Pussycat, if they were so unlucky, because honestly, if they just stayed away, if they hadn't just got unluckily hit by Exterminator, they would have gone through with Exterminator, because Barbaric Response was dying and Scorpion died. So, they would have, I mean, granted, I don't think they would have gone past, Firestorm or anything, or anything like that, but because they couldn't actually self-right, which is weird. There's 2 robots in this heat that have flippers that can't self-right. Which is kind of weird.
Robo Chicken's still essentially a novelty bot, but it's now a novelty robot which actually can put up a good fight as long as it doesn't get flipped over, I suppose.
It's kind of like Deator in a way, then, in that regard.
Yeah.
Or Plunderbird 5.
Yeah, Plunderbird 5, although with the Plunderbird boys, they never really had, like, even when they won in Series 2, their robot wasn't necessarily, like, top, like, was, like, really competitive apart from the Series 5 version. While, like, Robo Chicken, like, they made, like, Robo Chicken and Nemesis, like, Nemesis is kind of excluded because Nemesis was always meant to be a joke bot and never meant to be taken too seriously. But Deator, like as soon as it appeared, like was able to fight, and after the first version of Rubber Chicken came out, it was always ready to fight as well.
Yep.
And it just kept getting beaten by Exterminator, Crustacean, and like Tough as Nail, like really like respectable opponents. And you're not going to go like, oh, we lost to a really bad robot. We actually lost to an okay robot. Like,
well, that's just it. You see, they've lost to respectable opponents, and there's no shame in that.
No, in fact, they got very unlucky in Series 5 because there's loads of the robots. They could have gone against any Series 5 first round fodder and beaten them. But they had to go against a robot that was actually well made, competent, and had like a weapon that was just kind of made to just
Crustacean.
Yeah, to completely just or like not really make their flipper essentially completely ineffective. And yeah, I always felt bad for Rubber Chickens. Again, the closest they ever got was Series 7, and they had to go against Tough as Nails, a robot again that's perfectly shaped to kind of just grab them and not really be effective, and then is invertible, which again isn't a good thing either for them.
Thanks a lot, Jerome.
Nah, we love you.
You're awesome.
We love you, but please don't mess with Rubber Chicken again, ever. No. I love my Rubber Chicken. It's like up there with Deator. It's one of the only like joke bots that can actually fight back. There's not many out there. Like even think robots like Sir Chromalot. Like Sir Chromalot never fought back in any fights it was in.
Sir Chromalot was just there for show because it was meant to look classy. That's what it was all about, and didn't really have much in the way of offensive power. But they had the team which was always saying, "This is a winner. We'll make mincemeat of all the other robots." You got to love this sort of bravado for the cameras. Robo Chicken, I think, at this point, Robo Chicken, they're one of those teams that are just there, clearly having a bit of fun, but at the same time, they want to have a bit of fun. They want to have a good go at it as well. So it's kind of halfway between. You know what I'm saying?
I just love Robo Chicken. I just can't.
It's fun.
He's a fun boy. And I think they're still using a glove for the little like I don't know what you call it on a chicken, that little red thing on the chicken, whatever it is. They're still using gloves for it, so that is always good. Who do we have next? Let's go for the second best, only because the other two didn't really do much. Was Scorpion, or sorry, I should call it Spirit of Scorpion this time. Now with no creepy faces on it.
It looks a lot nicer.
Well, coming from the Series 4 version, it's not
haunting my nightmares, put it that way.
Oh god, no. I mean, there's a Series 4 version. There is never a more unintentionally terrifying robot that is Scorpion.
Yeah, it's accidental nightmare fuel.
Yeah, and it's also now forever become a meme associated with Mike now.
Oh dear. I thought that was... He's got a lot of memes going around him, Mike does.
He does.
Like PS to shit and, well, the Scorpion thing as well.
Like, the Series 6 and 7 version of Scorpion, though, don't really change that much, just the paint scheme changes, but the actual design of it is very similar. And the only thing I would like say about the Spirit of Scorpion versus the original is that I kind of wish that the wedge lifted up a bit rather than just static. Like it was like
that would have been good if it could lift. I noticed it's invertible as well, which is something the original Scorpion could not do.
No, that is a plus. And
it's obviously not made of fiberglass, which breaks easily.
Although apparently this robot had very bad transmission when it was upside down. So it was invertible, but kind of only face value.
It did say in the statistics for it that the robot's weaknesses was poor transmitter reception.
That's probably what they meant by that. I mean, they got completely screwed over in Series 7 going against IG-88.
Weaknesses in Series 7, none, just the driver.
Yeah, that's part of it, probably. I think I just wait as much as the Series X and 7 versions is better. I honestly just remember the Series 4 version more. I just can't help but think of that face all the time, and I'm just kind of sad they didn't even put like a reference to it on this version. It's just a Scorpion on top of it.
This is the thing, I completely forgot about what the other Scorpions looked like. I just remembered what the Series 4 one looked like, and that's just what has stuck.
It's the most memorable for reasons.
I mean, when you have a face like that, you're going to be memorable.
Memorable is good, but is it being memorable for the right reasons? No.
I really don't know. I mean, the other good thing about the Scorpion team is they're responsible for the spinners getting banned in the UK, aren't they? Because like one of the teeth broke off. So that's their other sort of claim to fame.
You'd never realise that watching just the main series. Like, because Spirit Scorpion never did anything that spectacular in Series 6 or 7, so you wouldn't think, oh, this is a robot's going to ban spinners in the future. And then, apparently it does. So that's good. I mean, the disc didn't even do anything in this particular heat. It just it spun a few times and didn't really get anything going at any point.
I think it did a little bit of damage on Robo Chicken on like a corner, but that was it.
Yeah, it actually was more. It was up until the point where it broke down. It was actually kind of outplaying Barbaric Response, which had a flipper. You know, which is kind of. I mean, they were the ones that actually slammed him into the pit button to get it open in the first place. It's just. Up until the point where they broke down, it was actually quite a close first round as well. Like, all four robots were actually moving, and then as soon as Robo Chicken fell over, like, Scorpion just broke down, then Barbaric barely responded, and then all you had was Exterminator left.
Do you suspect things might have been a bit different with the outcome if a Spirit of Scorpion or Robo Chicken had gone through instead of Barbaric Response? I mean, personally, I think FIRESTORM would have taken them down both very easily, although Spirit of Scorpion could drive upside down.
It's the only advantage it had over the other two.
Pretty much.
Well, at least Barbaric Response can self-right, kind of, when it's not on the wall.
I'd rather have seen FIRESTORM fight Robo Chicken though.
Oh yeah, I mean, any more Robo Chicken is good Robo Chicken.
Yeah.
Again, I have nothing against Spirit Scorpion. I just, again, you can't. It's a hard act to follow when you have that robot as your first thing. Also, fun fact: the original Scorpion was the only robot that wasn't seeded that was given a direct place into the series, without having to do a qualifier. I don't know why.
It's the face. Once again, it's the face.
Well, in that case, Banshee would have got in straight away. I mean, it's terrifying, but...
Which is more terrifying, Banshee or Scorpion? And be honest here.
Scorpion.
Scorpion.
Because if I saw both of them in like very dim light, that smile would just kind of...
slashes. Yes, I totally agree with you there, actually.
Yeah, like, Banshee is just kind of ugly, which is kind of that's the whole point. It's like a witch ghost, you know, it kind of makes sense. It's not meant to look good, but Scorpion's just a scorpion. And I think it's the fact it's got a very human mouth makes it scarier.
Yeah, I mean, before I saw these robots, I thought Banshee. That sounds very sleek, like some sort of full thrust flipper type robot, and then it turns out to be something completely different. Scorpion, I didn't know really what to expect from this, but well,
like, are we sure the original Scorpion isn't just some random SCP that no one's written about yet? Because it looks like one. It's like it looks like someone who's like read on some like something awful web forum or something. It's just like, did this thing really exist? Like, yes, it did. You know, some say if you stare at it long enough, some creature comes out and attacks you or something, or it just, every time you blink, it moves closer to you.
I'll swallow your soul. That's what I'm saying.
That's what it looks like. It just looks like to me. Also, the fact I've talked more about the original than this one kind of shows you how much I care about Spirit of Scorpion.
Was Scorpion not paired up with FIRESTORM in the tag team terror for Series 4?
Yeah, they were.
Got burned many times.
It got burned.
FIRESTORM does the flipping, Scorpion will do all the cutting, and I'm thinking, yeah, no, you won't.
Right, I think it's no coincidence that these two appeared in the same heat. They wanted them to come back as a little rematch together, and they never even got past the first round.
They should have put them into the first round together then. But,
you think so? I guess they wanted a one-on-one more, but maybe they thought Spirit Scorpion was be able to get past the first round, perhaps, because they thought, oh, Rubber Chicken won't get through because it's a joke robot, and they thought, oh, Barbaric Response is a newcomer, they might not get through. Exterminator will get through. So they thought, oh, Spirit Scorpion's got experience, some experience, I guess. Yeah, they'll get through, right? No.
To be fair, Spirit Scorpion does look like it could get past the first round, but then you have to remember what it's drawn up against, and of course, poor reliability can strike even the neatest of looking robots.
And then Series 7 comes around, they get battered by IG-88, somehow get past the first round, and flipped over by Dan Tonkier, so, you know,
Yep.
They had a terrible Series 7, even if they got past the first round somehow. Which is the only series they've ever progressed past the first round, so, you know.
That's like, because after all, Iron Ore had a terrible Series 4, even though they got past the first round.
And in the next heat, a very terrible Series 6 as well.
Oh dear, yes.
I felt so bad for them in Series 6, but anyway, that's the next heat. I guess the other two I will talk about the one I actually don't like as much, just because it exists sort of in the same way as Barbaric Response, but slightly worse. Colossus, the second Preston robot.
Do you not think it bears a passing resemblance to Cassius 3?
It
I
really
was
does.
just going to say that. It really does.
It actually does. I don't know if they took inspiration or they just coincidentally happened to make a similar robot, but in fairness, it is just a boxy wedge with a flipper, so it's not like it's a terribly unique design, so I guess you could see comparisons either way.
Random spinning disc at the back as well, just like Cassius 3 was originally going to have.
Yeah, and they kept it in Series 7, even though that was one of the main reasons why they couldn't self-write in that series.
I think it looks even worse in Series 7.
No,
Just the random rollover hoop on top. It's very weird.
Yeah, the rollover hoop that doesn't actually help in any way. Because it wouldn't help them. They'd be more useful putting stuff on the side to stop them getting stuck on there. Because they've still got flat sides in Series 7.
It just looks like it has the aerodynamic properties of a bookcase. It's just not a pleasant robot to look at, I don't think.
It actually does. The Series 7 version in particular does look like furniture. Like, it's not as bad as the most furniture-looking robot still goes to Repteron from Series 4. Which is just...
No, it doesn't. It goes to Couch Potato.
Okay.
But that's a Beetleweight robot, and that came a lot later, so I don't...
I'm talking main series, classic series here.
Of course we are.
Yeah, I mean, Repteron looked like some kind of like ancient gramophone or something, or I don't know what it was supposed to be. I don't know what that thing was supposed to be. That's what it always looked like. That or some kind of weird like case you put your beer in or something. I don't know what it was.
That would go very well with Shredder, because Shredder looked like an old-fashioned tape reel player, didn't it?
It did, yeah. And they never fought each other at any point. What a shame.
Oh, that's a shame.
But Colossus, though, it exists. It existed, and it existed, and still couldn't self-write in 2 series. Which, I don't know. Like after the first series, I would have said, right, let's get rid of the disc on the back and make the back sort of like round. So, because it had the power to potentially self-write, they made it a little bit more powerful. Like the Series 7 version, they actually tried a bit hard because they made the flipper bigger. They put a little wedge slot on the front, so it was actually able to get under robots a little bit easier, and it wouldn't get stuck in its. People couldn't hit the sides of it as much. And then what did they do? They put the store on the back again.
Looks like a bad idea is always worth repeating.
Yeah, and then it was Bigger Brother that flipped them over in the Series 7, and then Firestorm in Series 6. They just didn't. Granted, they went against 2 good flippers, but the fact they couldn't self-write in either series, I think more so in Series 7 it's more egregious because they actually had room to improve from Series 6. Like in Series 6 you could go, that's the first turn they appeared, whatever, but I don't know, by Series 7 I would be like, yeah, we should probably put some way so we don't fall over on our back and not be able to self-write again.
In the Series 7 pre-match interview, Jane says, disc at the back, flipper at the front, is that a lethal combination? And they say, we hope so. Well, as it turned out, it was a lethal combination, lethal in the sense that it prevented them from self-writing.
It was lethal in Series 2, although I find it funny that their disc isn't really a disc, it's just some kind of like serrated piece of metal on the back that sort of spins and then doesn't spin at other times. And funny, all the pictures of it on the wiki, outside of like interview stuff or like, just pictures of it before the fight started, are just pictures of it upside down, or in the case of its third picture, it's getting bullied by Bigger Brother on the arena side wall.
Yeah,
it's not got a single picture of it doing anything, and that's kind of what Colossus did in Series 6 and 7. It did nothing and got flipped over.
It was just a complete and utter failure of a machine, which is harsh to say because it looked quite neat when it came into the arena, but it is true. It
reminds me, actually, there are 2 robots in Series 6 that actually almost parallel each other, except the only difference is they didn't join. Colossus was in one extra series in it. It reminds me of Inshreddable. It's a robot that actually looks competent. It doesn't look bad. Like if I just saw it by itself, or if it was like in Series 3 or 4, I'd go, you know what, that's really well made. That looks actually quite good for a first-time competitor. And then they end up doing absolutely nothing in anything they do. And getting, in the case of Incredible, they got through by pure luck, really, that Terrible went in the pit. But, in this case...
And Incredible's sidearm, it looks like you could punch through it with your finger.
I mean, Anarchy didn't have the best axe, and they got through it. So, but Colossus didn't even have that privilege of getting past the first round anyway.
No.
It was actually kind of funny because they were kind of minding their own business whilst like Cedric Slammer and Firestorm were doing their thing. Like Megahertz and Colossus just sort of fighting each other, and then Colossus runs for the pit button, and Firestorm just sort of like, wait, stop that, and flipped him over.
Just, oh no, you don't.
And then just instantly disabled him. It was so unfortunate. Like, and then for years I always think, it's because they were next to the arena wall. That's why they didn't flip over. But then no, they really just couldn't self-right in general because they weren't that close to the wall. It's not like they flipped over onto the wall and got the wheel stuck on the wall. They just didn't self-right at all in any way. It's a robot that exists for this reason.
It's just like Barbaric Response. It is just there, but even more so.
Yeah, at least Barbaric Response can self-right. You know, they did it a few times in this heat. Well, yeah.
I think Barbaric Response is actually more pleasing to look at than Colossus as well.
I would disagree. I actually like Colossus slightly more. I'm just not a fan of that sheet metal look on Barbaric Response, where I can actually look at. As kind of garish the blue version is in Series 7, at least I can remember it more than any of the two Barbaric Responses. In fact,
fair enough.
Series 7 Barbaric Response is worse, because they don't even have the little logo on the front of it. It's just a piece of metal.
Oh, no.
In Series 7.
I mean, I've not looked at the Series 7 picture of Barbaric Response, to be fair, so I'll take your word for it.
It's literally the same thing, but they kind of... Or if it is... Or actually, they have written it, but it's in the same colour as the metal. So you can barely see it anyway.
A robot does not look as interesting if you don't have at least something on the metal to make it look more interesting, like some artwork or even just the robot's name. You know,
a little goes a long way in Robot Wars. Yeah. Anything else about Colossus? I mean, I doubt there is.
It's just the most default rear hinge flipper you can get, really, isn't it?
Rear flinged.
Rear flinged, indeed.
It does like a robot you get in Robot Arena 2 as a stock robot.
Pretty much.
Like Flipper.exe1 or something, I don't know. It's there. And the last robot, which I actually feel very bad that it never appeared again in the main series at any point, or they did get some redemption in the New Blood, was Cedric Slammer.
This was a good-looking robot on the outset. The team looked like they were having a bit of fun. I love the monkey mascot that's on it. It really goes well with the whole aesthetic of the robots.
Yeah, because the little monkey's called Cedric, and that's why it's called Cedric Slammer. Which I love. I do feel bad because when you watch them in the New Blood tournament, they actually did cause some actual damage to all the robots they faced in their in their actual heat.
It's not bad for a spinner made out of a car wheel, is it?
No, and it's actually just I don't know. I always like this robot, and I kind of feel bad that they never decided to come back for Series 7. Honestly.
Yeah.
Because they came fourth. I think it was fourth or third in the. Either way, they got into the grand final of the New Bloods, only losing to Mute, and only they came fourth. They lost to Thor as well. But oh man, I don't even know what happened to them. I actually can't tell to this day whether the self-writer would have self-righted them or they just got really unlucky and FIRESTORM broke their self-writer somehow. Because I can't tell if they actually were able to self-write at any point. It looks like they should have been able to.
Yeah, I mean, it's like some robots have a self-writing mechanism, but then it doesn't work as well in practice as it does in theory. Like Can Opener's first version being an example.
Oh, yeah. That was bad.
Yeah.
Although this is a robot that really could just benefit from being invertible, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know why it couldn't be invertible, really.
It was the first design they had of it, so naturally it's the least refined, and you'd think that they would have thought about maybe making the next version invertible, but then what would they have done?
They would have just made a better version of Tetanus Boost, honestly. Because I mean, it would have been better. Tetanus Boost was just kind of okay in Series 7, but yeah.
It would have come out looking more like Inshreddable, I think, actually, if they wanted to use the disc both sides up.
That is true, actually. Yeah, it's sort of like a flat Inshreddable. Similar kind of disc, except that one wasn't made out of a car wheel, so you know.
Yeah, it has that good scrapyard aesthetic to it, like the whole body construction, for example. There's a lot of exposed bare metal and sticking out everywhere. And patterned aluminium texture on the top and everything. It's got quite a nice rustic look to it.
I mean, this is a robot I could make in Robot Arena 2, and I don't mean that as a bad thing. Like, it's actually it's relatively simple, but it's also quite effective as well. And it's similar to a robot I've made before in the past. Although when I was rewatching the fight, I think I understood why it didn't self-right. It's because, FIRESTORM flipped it over, and then, as they were self-righting, FIRESTORM went in for another flip, and then just lodged their self-writer on them. Yeah. And then, as he tried to retract it, it got stuck. Which is kind of a shame, because if I was... I mean, obviously this is way hindsight 2020. I would just, let FIRESTORM go near me, and then self-right when FIRESTORM thinks we're dead, and then self-right. And then it would have taken out Colossus and Megahertz and gone, hey, we survived, well done, we're here now. Yay. But
of course, but unfortunately they've already been counted out, so that's why Megahertz got to go through instead.
Yeah, the only robot that actually was functioning by the end of it by technicality.
Yep.
But obviously they were obviously counted out, and the disc actually cut into the floor quite badly in this series. Because that classic plywood floor from the old series.
Oh yeah.
It's always great to see, but it's just one of these disappointments in the series where you see robots that have potential, and then they just don't come back again, and it's kind of a shame because again they showed the potential in the New Bloods.
They did. They got quite far in the New Bloods, as you said. They managed to get to. I think it was the final? It was.
Yeah. They came fourth because they lost to Mute, and then they also lost to Thor in the playoff.
Ah, yes.
But this team is definitely an example of that, where, like, okay, I pick on the New Blood quite a lot because for the most part it was relatively quite mediocre, and the biggest thing I pick on it was the fact that there's so many robots from Series 6 that just came back in again, even though it's supposed to be called New Blood. But this is one of those robots I would justify putting these kind of robots in, because, you know, Dr. Fist you can't really justify putting back again. Or even robots like Rhubarb, which are okay, but I wouldn't say like you needed to see a second chance to these guys. But I think Cedric Sam is a robot I think I would like to have seen again, and I'm glad we saw again at least a bit, but I can see why they were brought back. Because they had potential, they just didn't really get anywhere in Series 6. Or the rest of the main series, because they never appeared again. But I don't know, it's just a disappointment for me, Cedric Slammer, really. Always have been.
It's like a prototype to the current meta, isn't it? 4-wheel drive, vertical spinner on the front. It was doing it before it was cool.
But do they have a monkey mascot though?
Ah, see, that's where everybody else was going wrong. They haven't got the monkey on top.
The monkey is great. I mean, yeah, we had the mouse on Megahertz at one point. Now we have a monkey.
It's like he was saying with the paintwork on the wedge or something. A little goes a long way.
Yeah. Also, it's one of the few mascots they put on a robot that didn't actually get destroyed at any point. Cedric remained the entire time unharmed. He didn't get burned. He didn't get axed. He didn't get sawed. He remained intact, which I quite appreciate. You know, they put some bandages on him in the final match against Thor, but he didn't actually take any damage at any point. They just put him there for a bit of fun, I think.
Yeah.
Although
maybe that's why they didn't come back. They just didn't want to lose Cedric to like the Flame Pit or anything in Series 7.
I sympathise with that. I wouldn't want to lose an amazing mascot like that. But actually, also one thing I noticed about our self-writer, which also didn't help him get in stock, is about the end of it. He's got spikes on it, so it kind of gives him grip. But one of the spikes must have got stuck in the floor. Yeah, it's not a good design. It's not a bit of a design flaw, admittedly. But yeah, very unfortunate. Probably, I'd say I think them and RoboChicken were probably the two biggest disappointments in this heat, honestly. Like, everyone else I kind of expected to get as far as they did, with the exception of Megahertz. But I don't know. I would have given these guys another chance. But
yeah, I think it would be nice to see them at least get past the first round and get another go.
Yeah, and also they're the third Lancashire robot in this heat with Megahertz and Colossus. Not from Preston though. They're in a place called Houghton. I actually don't know how to pronounce that. Houghton. I don't know where it is anyway. I've never heard of it. So apparently it's in Lancashire. So that's good. But they're from there. I guess, have we missed anything in this particular heat? I mean, is there anything from the fights that we have missed out that people want to point out? Because I can't really think of anything else in particular that's been missed out entirely. Because as I said, I'm trying to streamline this a bit more so we're not just talking about the battles unless there's anything to actually talk about.
Other than Refbot really had a bad heat. Like, he didn't count out anybody in the knockouts, and then he just got flips over and couldn't count out barbaric response. He just had a really bad run.
Yeah. Oh, there's one shot I do like in the qualifying match with Firestorm, where Megahertz is in the pit and it's just decapitated. I love that. I just looking at the wiki shots. I just love that picture of it. That and also the picture with Megahertz also getting his face completely scalped by Exterminator. Like, that was a precision shot. Like, they didn't just go through it and just rip the whole thing off. They ripped only the front panel off. That's incredible.
Gave it a facelift.
Badum.
Oh.
That was good. That was clever. I like that. That was good.
You're welcome. Anytime.
I mean. Also, do you know what Megahertz's favourite movie is as a result?
What?
Face Off.
Ah!
I was saving that one. But no, the thumbnail's got to be just them on the floor, upside down after their monitor got crushed. It's the only thing.
Yeah.
It's the only image I can think of that's better in this heat than that. But I guess really there's not much else to talk about. I mean, apart from Refbot just being an idiot and falling over. Actually, one thing I failed to mention. One thing I remembered. This was in 2 fights in particular. Growler was really intimidating in this heat. Like in the match with Exterminator and Megahertz 2, he just kind of like did that death spin that Sir Killalot used to do.
But it's more deadly with Growler.
Yeah, it is.
Because Growler's a lot faster.
And there's like another bit in the heat where where Exterminator goes near. Well, Exterminator pushes Megahertz into the pit, and Growler just rams out of nowhere into Exterminator, like 200 miles an hour right into it.
Ow.
He just like I remember watching it. Actually, when we were watching it before, I forgot he did that, and I was like, Jesus, Growler, what the hell? He attacked the robot that pushed the robot into the CPZ. Sorry, I'm getting Series 2 mixed up now. What the hell?
Is this the first time the drop zone never got used this episode?
It is, yeah.
I believe so. Yeah. I can't remember what was in the drop zone this heat. I actually can't remember now.
Washing machine, I think.
The old washing machine, yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. It was thrown onto Robo Chicken, wasn't it? The classic. That's kind of that is most classic like drop zone item.
Drop zone is obviously there for just the crowd entertainment, pretty much. And it's quite funny looking at all these old appliances that are about to get destroyed and everything, because the washing machine they used looked like a conventional one, but there was one time when they dropped one which looked like an old-fashioned sort of one which you load from the top, kind of like what my grandma used to have.
I guess that's why they're putting in the scrap heaps. They weren't being used anymore, so just throw it on a robot.
Well, why not?
Yeah, I mean, there was never a time that the drop zone. I think most time the drop zone ends up breaking the object more than the robot getting dropped onto it.
That's it. You see, it shows just how sturdy these robots are.
Yeah, was it Series 7 where they just throw loads of like bowling balls and stuff and loads of
the bucket of balls, like ping pong balls, bowling balls? Yeah.
Now that must have been a pain to clean up.
Yes. Oh dear.
I mean, I don't even. Again, it's all entertainment value purely, but the best drop zone ever, which wasn't even in the main series, when they used Golem, the German robot, as a drop zone.
Oh,
yeah.
What?
Yeah, they used
that happened.
Yeah, because Golem, it was like a generic kind of like spiky Rambot, and basically it lost in like the second round or something of its heat, and the team just like got rid of it. So they took all like the mechanics out of it and just used the chassis as the drop zone. And
Well, how much was the washing machine weigh? Do you think, like your conventional washing machine?
I don't know, 40 kilograms maybe, 30.
So basically, a middleweight robot being dropped onto a heavyweight robot.
Pretty much. But it's also
But
a
not
lot.
as well made.
Plus, a lot of the electronics will be taken out, and it's more likely a shell than an actual like full
Yeah.
washing machine. But yeah, Golden remains the best washing machine, the best drop zone. It is also if you tried, you can make it a good washing machine. I don't know. I'm not good at electronics myself, but you can make a robot into a washing machine.
Brand washing machines, you know.
Well, the robot, W70 was once a pool cleaner, so.
Yeah.
Washing machines last longer with Golden. You know, that's how they should go. That's what it should have gone. That's what it should have gone. But yeah, I think we mentioned it. Yeah, I mentioned the drop zone, Refbot being shit, and also the spoilers. I think that's basically everything else apart from anything else that we've actually mentioned. I think that's everything. So,
according to the website In the Wash, I'm looking this up as we speak. Your average washing machines weigh around 60 to 90 kilograms, so it's a bit heavier. But then, of course, they were taking a lot of the stuff out as well. So
it might have worked out about 40 kilograms then, maybe, or 50 if you're taking everything out of it.
So basically, middleweight robot. So we are still very much on the. It's still lighter than the competitive robots at 100 kilograms.
Oh wow! And there were robots in the reboot that are about as heavy as that.
Yep.
Which is weird to think. But I was also thinking like the kegs and stuff, but they have an excuse.
Oh, that too. Yeah.
They wouldn't be able to use something that's too heavy because the floor is only made out of wood, isn't it? So you wouldn't want to have, say, Sir Killalot dropped from the drop zone because he would go straight through the floor with the competitor robot he lands on.
Although let's face it though, even if it would break the arena, I'd pay to see that.
Oh yes.
So guys, out of 10, what do people think of this heat then? Because I'll start with David first. What do you think of out of 10?
I thought it was a decent heat. Like, it had a couple of fun moments, but nothing like majorly outstanding. So probably a 6 out of 10, 6.5 maybe.
That's pretty fair. What about you, Mark?
I would give it a 6 as well because it was all the robots were at least somewhat capable to some extent. We didn't have any obvious bullshit in this one, but at the end of the day, it was still heavily dominated by 2 robots, especially FIRESTORM. So that made it a bit more predictable as well. So I'd say 6 out of 10. It's just above average. It's entertaining enough to watch, but predictable.
I mean, honestly, I'd probably say 6 out of 10 as well. To be quite honest, I was thinking 6, maybe 6.5, but I think 6 is good enough because if it was actually like a 7 or an 8, it'd have to have like some really good fights as well to make up for it. And none of the fights were like spectacular, but none of them were like bullshit either. So I can't really hate the heat. Again, all the robots were solid at least. None of the robots were like, Wasp.
Yeah.
Or Scary Go Round, or some low caliber Series 6 and 7 rubbish.
Granny's Revenge 2.
Hey, don't you diss Granny's Revenge 2. That thing's awesome.
No, it's not. No, what I mean is Granny's Revenge 2 is an awesome robot, but it's not going to get past the first round.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
Let's not bring the grannies in.
But I guess, as per tradition, we'll quickly go over the following heat of the robots, at least. Of course, this is Heat C, and the winner is Chaos... Oh, wait, hold on. It's Dan Tomkia. What was I talking about?
Danto Makaya. Yes. Or Dan Tom Key, as Mike Lambert says.
No one knows how to pronounce this robot, clearly. Yeah, the debut of Dan Tomkia, and also the first heat where Chaos 2 doesn't win a heat. That's the only heat he never wins.
Huh.
I guess someone had to beat it eventually. No, they appeared in Extreme 2 as well in the All-Stars, but they got beaten up there as well.
Ah, yeah.
And that was their official last appearance on TV. But in terms of like heats...
Viking Burial.
Yeah, in terms of their main series, this was their last main series appearance, because they've appeared in Series 7. Because George Francis went on to the technical team in Series 7, so he didn't compete at all.
If we get back to Dan Tomkia, though, it was a robot that was apparently well fancied in the pits, according to what it was being built up as throughout this episode. And you can see why, because it's a very sleek-looking machine. It's pretty solid. The weapon's good, and they say it's a full-body spinner as well. They make it spin on the spot. So,
kind of.
Yeah, I mean, they never actually did that, though, did they?
No, it must lift up and down as opposed to spin around a lot.
Nah, but the spinning around thing sounds like a bit of a gimmick anyway. The flipper is where all the business is, and it did the business very well.
Plus, they managed to get out of the arena in every fight in their heat. So
And against Chaos 2 as well, and that was Chaos 2's party piece.
Yeah, that's the only time Chaos 2 got flipped out of the arena as well.
Yeah,
which is interesting to say the least.
I was rooting for Dan Tomkia when I saw this episode for the first time, back when it first aired, though, because I thought Chaos 2 had been dominant long enough and everything. It was time for someone new to take over. And Dan Tomkia had never competed before. This was a brand new team. They had no experience, so it's for Series 6, it's unusual to see an unseeded robot or an outsider, like newcomer, even get past the heats, but it happened.
Yeah, it's all like the M2 of Series 7, it's not as impressive. M2 was not impressive, but...
That was a shot in the dark, although I think both these teams had some experience in the live circuit before that, so...
And also they did fail to qualify with Series 5, which was just basically Dan Tomkia, but with just a wedge.
Yeah.
It was a wooden box with a wedge on the front of it. There's a reason why it didn't get into the series. It wasn't very impressive, the Series 5 version. But I'm glad they improved Massacre to make this robot. Also one of the few classic robots to make it into the reboot at some point as well, so...
And did they not get and was a pullback toy not made of it as well?
I believe there was. Yeah, I don't own that, unfortunately.
Yes.
I'd love to own it at some point, but never owned it. There's a few I haven't got, and that's one of them. The other one I've not got is I had Chaos 2. I don't have it now, so I don't have that anymore either. But need to get them sorted. Speaking of Chaos 2, it lost.
Yeah.
I guess some would say finally.
Yep.
I agree to an extent, but it is kind of weird seeing Chaos 2 not make it anywhere in a heat.
Yeah.
It showed its time had passed, really, by Series 6.
It's true, but I would say it never got, 100% outdated at any point. I wouldn't say, Chaos 2, it wasn't like, I don't remember what I got outdated, what's a good example?
Kilotron?
Yeah, Kilotron. That got outdated, within Series 3, pretty much. That thing was only good in Series 1 and 2, where the robots were, less developed. But
Yep.
Chaos 2, even if it lost in its heat this time, it still was relatively consistent. I mean, it's still the only robot in the main series to win 2 series, albeit in a row as well.
Comparatively light now, because it still weighs 84 kilograms. They've obviously hadn't done much between Series 5 and Series 6 to it.
No, I guess they just kind of thought maybe they could do well with the robot. And honestly, with their Series 5 performance, it was kind of not a bad assumption, honestly. But
I mean, like I'd said before, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. I mean, for Series 5, they basically put in bigger rams, a larger gas bottle, and more protection for the back. And Series 6 was about the same, but I guess it was just starting to get a bit more old and tired at that point, and other robots were able to catch up with them.
I think it got to the point where in the Extreme where they couldn't even get past a All-Stars first round. So that was kind of, and also them in the Annihilator that was they had the excuse there that at least they got pulled by 5 robots at once. There's an excuse there. Then of course I praised it before, but there's Crush Station. I always like this robot's design a lot.
It's a good solid robot.
It's obviously
Very unique.
It had 2 seconds of fame in the reboot, where it got hit once and died, which is kind of what I expected from the reboot one. Honestly, as cool as it is, it wasn't modern. Anyway.
They make a lot of a big deal about using Dominic Visser using the goalie gloves to control the claws. That was pretty clever for the time.
It's still a really good idea, and it's definitely a unique way to do a crushing robot as well. Because
it's a good example of innovation working out. I would say definitely. It's like you don't necessarily have to do that, but if not, why not? It's pretty cool.
Also, they did something that I've not seen many robots doing. They actually cut off the antenna of Mr. Nasty as well.
Oh, yeah, that was actually a very hard bit to catch as well, because it was just a very small spot on the back of the robot.
And quite a fast robot.
Yes, and they managed to catch it in just the right place.
I mean, Mr. Nasty is not an easy robot to grab if you're not, like, trying to actively go for it. And it was quite a fast robot as well, and just grabbing it at the right moment. It's up there with Pussycat and Hypnodisc and Dominator 2 and Henry 2 as, like, just the snipe kills. Just getting it in one fell swoop there. But again, I'll always praise Crustacean for how amazingly well, like how beautiful it looks and how unique it is for a crushing robot. I mean, this thing took out it took out Exterminator, I think, and it also took out it took out Behemoth, sorry, in Series 7 as well, or Series 6, one or two, or Series 5.
It was Series 5.
Series 5, that's it.
And then Behemoth came back in Series 7 and got revenge.
Yeah, got some revenge. And then there's Mighty Mouse, which is Velociraptor as in a fursuit, and actually won. Now,
Mighty Mouse, I wasn't so keen on when I first saw it, but it is a cute robot. I actually first saw it in Techno Games. Do you remember Techno Games?
Yeah, it was
an epic failure at just about everything in Techno Games. However, in Robot Wars, it was very successful in the sense that it was able to outmaneuver a lot of the bigger robots and get quite far in competitions.
I have to counter the thing you say it's a failure. It came like second or third in the obstacle course, and actually at one point set a world record. I
was thinking about things like the robotic soccer and the tug of war. It was failure at that, but I didn't see all the episodes, so Trevor, if you're listening, I want to redact that statement and say it was a complete failure, okay? Because
I watched Techno Games last week as a little binge, and I happened to see it, and I was like, I forgot, because that's the only event Mighty Mouse did anything well in.
I love the whiskers on the front. I love the doorstop thing that's used on the back as a tail, or sort of trying to stabilize it as well. That's a pretty cool feature and everything.
One thing I have to say about Mighty Mouse, which Omega Mouse, or the variations of the mouse, the mouse, which is obviously Eubank the mouse, which gets more confusing. But beside the point, right, Velociraptor, it had like one moment of fame the very first time it appeared in Series 3 in the football, and then did nothing else in Series 4 or 5. Yeah. And then it changes it. All it did to it was maybe change some of the controls a little bit. They made it more of a car steering as opposed to like just flat out. Like driving forwards and backwards and in circles and stuff. Added some decoration onto it, and it suddenly just never broke down. Like, what happened? Yeah. Like, what was Velociraptor doing wrong that Mighty Mouse was doing right?
That's what it is. It's another curse in Robot Wars.
Yeah, because it came in Series 7 and then lost the Velociraptor, the new one they made.
Yeah, because Mighty Mouse was the old Velociraptor, with they just changed it about, and then they made a new Velociraptor to replace Velociraptor, and, well, Mighty Mouse is the one that, well, had the more success. It's quite funny how things work out that way.
And like Mighty Mouse has a distinction of again doing absolutely nothing but somehow making it to a heat final and making it to making 2 wins, at least getting through the first round here as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, in their battle against Chronic, they won because they ran away more. Like that's all he ever did in Robot. They just ran away and eventually got flipped out of the arena or just beaten.
It's all about survival, isn't it? You notice that they got these funny rear spinning discs at the back in Series 7, which looks a bit, what's the word I'm looking for? It looks a bit cumbersome at the back with the big rear spinning discs.
Well, it's probably because in Series 7 they had to have an active weapon rule. It was sort of how Storm 2 added the flipper just because they had to, not because they wanted to.
This is true. If it hadn't been for that, they would probably just have kept the black and tail.
Probably, yeah. I mean, and then they had the Mega Mouse in Series 9 where it was like the flipper version.
How far did Mega Mouse get again?
It lost to Carbide because it lost a wheel. So it was a bad battle to begin with. It had you had cannon fodder like Charlie Rage, but also had Crackers and Smash, which wasn't going to flip over very easily. And it was a matter of time before Carbide got to him. And
because Crackers and Smash are built like bricks, obviously
they were going to die in one hit. So yeah. Now
they had the featherweight version called Mini Mighty Mouse, which won the 2007 championship. I know this because I did a poster recently with all the FRA champions, and they ended up being in full nerd mode. But yeah, a miniature version of Mighty Mouse with a lifter won the featherweight championship.
Now, if we're going to talk about robots, I think got incredibly screwed over in this heat. Iron Ore 2.
Yeah.
Like what the fuck, Chaos 2? They were too close to the wall, I guess. Maybe that was their biggest crime.
The walls were too low.
Yeah, because this is weird. Like, so they brought Axor randomly in Series 5 from Iron Ore in Series 4. Then they went, oh, I guess we're called Iron Ore, and just went back to the name Iron Ore again. It's what a shame. I mean, what a competent robot this thing is. They're also the only robots in Series 7 anyway. They're the only robots to flip out Bigger Brother somehow.
Yeah.
In a very, very fluke hit, but they did it. And it's weird because this robot was like rounds ago. It actually could have done quite well, and then it lasts like all of 2 seconds. It does nothing, and then Chaos 2 flips out.
Well, it did one thing. It did manage to get its axe right into Destructosaur.
Oh yeah. Destructosaur just got completely axed by this thing. That's true. But apart from that, it existed in its fight.
It was over in a trice, but at least we got to see it come back as Ino 2.1 Series 7 and have another shot and do better there.
At least they had Heat Final finally. Yeah,
that was. And of course, they came back in Series 10 as well with Iron Ore 6,
which is very unfortunate. The robot never actually worked at any point, which is a big shame.
I mean, it was a good wedge, at least in Series 10.
Oh, it was a great one.
What they were after.
and it still made the 10 way as well on its own merits, pretty much.
Well, yeah, that's definitely true. Definitely. We mentioned it before. Destructosaur. The self-righting barrel didn't actually self-right, so oops.
Yeah.
It's funny actually because I remember like some robots were kind of scared of Destructosaur for some reason. I don't know.
I think Chaos 2 were. That was the weird thing in the pre-fight interview that George Francis was actually worried about Destructosaur's weapon.
I don't really know why.
Yeah,
it's just a very tiny circular lock claw. Although to its credit, this for like the 2 seconds it was moving, it was fast. It actually had. It was okay. It just has nothing else really going for it apart from a claw. This is a robot that really could have benefited from like some kind of like self-right on the side of it, or something, because it really needed
perhaps it. But then the robot's shaped like a passive self-righting mechanism anyway. So
yeah, except Chaos 2 managed to flip it just like on the side of it where it was just landed on its back. Like
the robot's actually. Sorry, what were you saying?
I say this robot was on like both robots that lost in their first round battle. It lasted about 2 seconds each time.
Yeah. Notice that this robot's from Edinburgh, up in Scotland and everything.
So yay.
So yeah, well, it's I think that was where Hippopotamus came from, wasn't it, or near enough?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, they're an Edinburgh team.
So we've got some great quality coming from there. At least they'd all talk.
All talk was good.
Then there's Mr. Nasty, which is a box with a spike.
Pure evil in the box. That's its slogan.
Yeah. Funnily enough, actually, you mentioned Hippopotamus. In Techno games, they were called All Talk.
What?
Yeah.
What?
And they competed in these. I think they definitely competed in the sumo. I'm not sure if they competed in the obstacle course now. I can't remember now. They definitely won the sumo. They came third, I think, in the sumo. They were actually really good in the sumo. They were actually quite well driven and quite agile to dodge a lot of robots. But yeah, they were called that in that series. A lot of when I get around to techno games eventually, I'm going to talk about the weird names some of the robots had. My favourite was 101 was called Trans Power, which is quite topical in retrospect. But
Yes.
in some ways. But yeah, Mr. Nasty. Another robot that made it into the New Blood, actually.
It's very shiny.
It's very shiny. I think if this robot had a better weapon, it would actually be quite okay.
It's a fixed spike, isn't it? So
Yeah.
it doesn't shoot out, it's just fixed.
Yeah, the spike actually did some. It got in some robot sides, and to its credit, it had a lot of speed to back it up, which is my major issue with spike bots. If they're so slow, then they have no.
I love the angry face that's on the front as well.
Yeah, it has a decent amount of personality for, again, being a box, which I'll give it credit for. At least I can remember this robot, at least.
Yeah.
And they thought to put things on the side of it so it can't get stuck on its side. So I'll give it credit. They actually thought about that.
Pro tip for future builders: if you can build a box on wheels and you can still give it some personality, you just have to look outside the box. Oh no, what have I done?
I like that. Was that intended or not?
I literally came up with it just as I was saying it.
Well, they thought out of the box and lost their antenna instead. So you know, what do they do?
Yep.
Um,
Any good robot is only as strong as its weakest part, and it just happened to be that spot where Crustacean just went and gave it the snip, you know?
Yeah, pretty much. But I'll give it credit. It has a lot of speed. It was actually well driven in the appearances in outside of techno games and stuff. So they had decent drivers on it. It just, I don't know. If it had a better weapon, it would have been quite good, I think. But you know, at least had the speed to back up the weapon at least.
It did get past the first round in the New Blood Championship, and then it lost to Mute.
Which is not a bad thing. I mean, I'd rather lose to Mute than Dr. Fist.
And called All Talk in Techno Games. I wonder if Martin Sloss had anything to say about that, or Charlie, what's his name from Hippopotamus Team.
I would have said they should have entered Techno Games and named their robot that instead, because they weren't called All Talk at that point, so they could have reclaimed the name.
They had their chance.
Nah. They had the chance with All Talk in Series 3 and they blew it with Small Talk and then just didn't try in Series 5.
Well, I wasn't thinking Charlie, it was Richie McBride, and I think it was his son was called Charlie or something like that.
The Sloss team, they made Bar of Hell. But they were part of All Talk.
It wasn't Charlie either. I don't know where I got Charlie from. It's not Charlie. No, it was Richie McBride and his son Alex. And and it was the Slosses, Daniel Sloss, Martin Sloss, Leslie Sloss, you know. I'm thinking of another team.
And then there's the robot which Anderson proclaims as the worst robot to ever appear in Robot Wars. And as much as I always just forget it exists, when I actually get down and think about it, I find it hard to disagree to a lot of reasons. It's Dr. Fist. Dr. Bloody Fist.
Yeah. What can you say about it?
I mean, I'll go more into detail about it in its heat, but its biggest egregious problem is it's a petrol-driven robot with a petrol-driven weapon that spins downwards. And in both its appearances, it got stuck on its side. Somehow.
Its wheels look so cheap and nasty.
Yeah, it's a very ugly-looking robot, honestly. It's just... There's nothing really about it.
It doesn't really match together, does it? Like the white wheels against the silver body.
And that random pattern on it.
Yeah.
Are they trying to copy the Dazzle ship sort of pattern or something like that? I don't quite get it.
Yeah. I don't get how does a robot with round wheels and overall kind of roundish robot like body get stuck on its side twice? How does it do that? Like,
it found a way.
Like, it's a robot. Like, round wheels surely would stop it from happening.
It's one of the great mysteries of the universe, isn't it? At the rate things are going.
Yeah, and it's funny actually. In its heat, like it starts out really fast when it comes out of the gate, and it just doesn't move for the rest of the fight. It used all its energy up in that one little entrance, clearly. And then they brought this thing back in the New Blood. Like, why? Like, there's other bring back I don't know, bring back they brought Miss Nasty. Bring back Destructosaurus. I don't know. Bring back. I'd rather see that.
How many people applied for the New Blood? I wonder.
Obviously, clearly not enough where they had to bring back Series 6 robots. But, again, there's other robots they could have brought back. I mean, I don't know. Again, Destructosaur I don't think was that great, but hell, it would work better than Dr. Fist ever did.
Yeah, because because there was a few other Sixth Wars competitors. There was Mr. Nasty, of course, Cedric Slammer, Revolution 2,
Rhubarb,
Thor,
Edgehog,
ICU,
ICU,
which was the original Exterminator with new design, well, new stuff on top of it.
yeah.
A lot of eyes on it.
And then there's Dr. Fist, which didn't work at any point. Twice. It's just such. I mean, again, people can argue the robots is their least favourite. Some can argue it's their worst robot. I think Anderson's the only person I can think of who's named a robot as their least favourite, where I can actually 100% can't think of a reason to say, actually, there's this other robot. Because, I don't know, like, I know Owain hates Maximus, but Maximus worked at points.
Mm-hmm.
What did this thing do? Like, what did Angel of Death work? PS, all of the PS Resistance worked. It didn't break down at any point. You know, and then I don't know.
I think Angel of Death's design had some potential. It's just the robot was too slow, and the circular saws at the front were not a good idea. But
yeah,
the parallelogram shape is pretty solid. We've seen it's been successful in weight classes before. But Dr. Fist is one of my least favorite robots in the world because, well, it just didn't really do anything apart from, well, break down and get stuck to the side.
I'll point out. I'll link it in my description as well when we make this video. Also, Anderson's relatively recent video on Dr. Fist, which is brilliant because he was begrudgingly wanting to do this one for ages, and he finally got round to it.
He didn't hold back on it at all.
No, he never holds back. He never holds back.
I'd love to hear that.
I'd recommend. I'll link it in the description, but also go watch it at some point. It's brilliant. But that said, yeah, that would be Heat C. We just had that Heat is actually a little bit better than Heat B, despite some of those blips in the I say one massive blip, which is Dr. Fist, but yeah, so that was Heat B. So just for the viewers at home, where can I find you online, Mark? Where's the best place to find you for your social media stuff?
Right. Well, I have my webcomic series called Transmission, which is still going. That's at the website transmission.thecomicseries.com, and I've got a links page which links to some of my other accounts online.
Brilliant. And where else can we find you online, David?
At the moment, I'm posting on Instagram, which is David of Smeg on that. I've got my Lego builds on there, and hopefully later on this year with the lockdown, I'll be able to actually get a series on YouTube with them.
Oh, nice.
So there's a whole arena built on the back garden. It's just missing bodies to control other robots.
I'm looking forward to seeing that. That sounds really good.
Actually, I'll have to put a picture of the deer toy you made relatively recently. That thing was really awesome.
It's bloody terrifying looking at it. Like, it's on the bed right now, and it stares out blankly.
I think it's the fact you put flames on it made it even better.
Oh yeah, I mean, you can't build deer toy without it being on fire.
No, of course not. But of course, obviously you know where to find me. You're watching this video. So, if you're not, then how did you find me? Who are you? Get out of my house. But with that said, that was Heat B. I'd like to thank my guests once again, Mark and David. Nice to have you. Nice to have you back, Mark, and nice to have you on for the first time, David. It was great all round, I'd say.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, thanks for inviting us.
Yep, and with that said, I am definitely getting Anderson on for Heat C just because Dr. Fist is there. I can't ignore that. That has to be a thing. But with that said, I'm Jim Dramatic signing off.
I am Mark, and I'm going to be signing off as well.
And I'm David of Smeg, and I'm going to disappear somewhere into a hole like the rest of us.
Right then. Yeah, that's what lockdown does to you. See you later, folks. Bye.
Good night.
All right.